Buenos días, es el lunes y son las 12. Hello, everyone. It is Monday and it's 12 o'clock, so it's time for our first Community Spanish of the week. I hope everyone had a lovely 4th of July weekend, but we're ready to get back at it today for, again, the first broadcast of 3 for Community Spanish every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. And we also have French going every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 8:30, so you can get a little bit of French in your day before you start work. And we also have the kids classes still going every afternoon, kids French at 3, kids Spanish at 3:30. And we also have our Instagram lives going as well for French and Portuguese. So there's lots of different material to check out. Speaking of recommendations of things to check out, we also have our Facebook Live webpage on the Rola Languages website, where we have all the videos posted with the links in case you missed a video or you want to go back to something or you want to pass it on to someone else who you think maybe would benefit from it. You can find all of that on our website on the Facebook Live webpage. And in addition, we also have worksheets there so you can have some extra practice to go along with the videos that you're watching. So we have all those resources there for you to take advantage of. One last thing I want to mention before we get into the topic of today's video is that today we have our July classes are starting at Rola. So if you wanted to get into very, very last minute a class, hopefully we can find something to work well for you. We do have a couple of classes that are starting next week. And especially as far as Spanish goes, we have an intro to Spanish class that's kind of just above the very beginner level that's going to be running starting next week on Tuesdays from 6 to 7. It's a 6-week class. So we do still have a couple of spaces left in that. So if you want to jump into a Spanish class, an online Spanish class, then you're welcome to check out that class. As far as the July classes. And other than that, then we have the August schedule actually is going to be coming out pretty soon towards the end of this week. So we have another batch of classes coming up. So without further ado, we're going to get into the subject for today. So this lesson is really meant more for those of you who are just starting learning Spanish and you're just kind of getting your basics in there. So the lesson I have today is a pretty brief one, again, for those of you who are just getting started with Spanish and you want a little bit of a boost. So we're going to be working on the pronombres personales, is the personal pronouns. And this is the kind of fancy grammar way for saying the people in Spanish. Who are the different people in Spanish? So we're going to learn and practice a little bit together on those first. And then, as I said, on the Rola Facebook Live worksheet website page, I'm going to be posting then an extra exercise to go along with that. So if you want to practice a little bit more or pass it on to someone else who you know is just getting their start in Spanish, you're welcome to do that. In the meantime, please feel free to like, comment, and share on the video so we know what you're enjoying, and hopefully this material is really helpful to you. So we want to get your feedback. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see the information. So again, as I said, what we're talking about today is pronombres personales, or personal pronouns. This is the kind of grammar term for this. So basically, just to quickly review these terms in case that these are things that are helpful to you. Pronoun is a word that replaces another word. So in this case, we're talking about, instead of using someone's name to speak about them, you can use a word to represent them instead of just using their name. So for example, if I'm going to talk about myself, instead of just saying like Erica does this, Erica does that, I'm going to instead say I do this. So this I is a replacement for my name. So this is what personal pronouns are all about, is a word you can use to represent someone without just repeating their name again and again and again. So we're going to focus on learning those today in Spanish. And as I say, we're going to do a little bit of practice. So our first one, as I just mentioned as my example, is to how to say I in Spanish. So be careful that just like in English, there's a difference between saying I and me. It's the same thing in Spanish. There we have one word for I and one word for me. So it's a little bit different. So first, por favor, repiten después de mí. Please repeat this after me. So for I in Spanish, it's yo. Yo. So as I mentioned in several of my previous videos, with this Y, you can have a little bit of variety among Spanish speakers of exactly how it's going to sound. So some people might say it more like I just did with the Y sound, like yo. Some other people might have it sound with a harder sound, like more like a J sound, and they would say yo. And then other speakers might have it with a softer kind of zh sound, so they would say jo. So this, while it's a little bit kind of a luck of the draw, it also is fairly regionalized. So depending on where you're going, you'll have different pronunciations. So I would say, like for an example, it's a little bit more common, like in Mexico down towards Central America, to have in Northern South America to have someone pronounce it more like j, like jo, versus the y is maybe more like Spain, and the zh sound is a little bit more common to the kind of Argentina, Chile, this kind of region. So you'd see, well, again, some people, it just depends on how they want to pronounce it. It also can be kind of regional. So you'll have some variation on how you pronounce it. I'm going to say, for our purposes, I'm going to say yo. Okay, so that's for I. Now, next we have for you in Spanish is tú. Tú. So this you in Spanish is how we would speak to someone if we're something that we kind of have some familiarity with, or we're kind of on equal level. Now, this is something that's not really a concept that exists in English, but it does exist in Spanish, and in fact, in many other languages. There's kind of an informal or casual way to call someone you, but there's also a kind of more formal or polite way to call someone you. So this tú is how to say you in a casual, informal way in Spanish. And you notice that there is a little accent mark on the u, which is important because if there's no accent and we write it like this, just te u, it means your. Like this is your house, your dog. So we just make important when we write this to make sure that you are putting the accent on the u to know that it's you, the person. So that's tú. Now we get to our next group of words, and we have, so if we are trying to say he, she, or you in the formal sense, these are all grouped together. And it's not really important for us today about why I'm grouping these together, but it will become clear kind of in later stages in Spanish why we're presenting them in this way. But for now, we don't need to worry about it. So let's just worry about learning the vocabulary first. So for to say he in Spanish, it's él. Él. And this one is similar to tú in the fact that when we write it, we have to put the accent mark on top of the e. If we don't put the accent mark, it means the word for the. So with the accent mark, it means he. So that's él. Now for she, it's ella. Ella. And again, just like I mentioned with yo, we will have some variation in how people want to pronounce this word. So I can say ella, ella, ella. Okay, so there's a little bit of variation in how we were pronouncing that double L sound. Again, it's basically like the same as the Y in Spanish. So there may be some variation. For my purposes, I'm going to say ella. So él and ella. Now, the last one we have is for you, again, in a polite or formal sense. So this maybe is someone who is your boss or someone who's older than you, someone to which you want to show respect. And maybe it could just be someone that you don't know very well. So you're not really sure if you're on the kind of terms with them that you can call them tú. It maybe seems a little bit risky or a little informal. So we're going to use this more polite and respectful way to say you, which is usted. Usted. And we can write this usted, so we can write it out like this, or there is also an accessible abbreviation where we write ud punto, so ud with a period. But this, when we write it, you notice there's a little bit of difference. When I write it out, I have a lowercase u, but when I write it as the abbreviation, I'm going to make the u uppercase. And this is not just a kind of coincidence here. It is that way. So when you write it with the abbreviation, you want to write it with a capital U. So that's usted. Now, for the next one, for the we form, okay, we have nosotros. Nosotros. Or if you're saying we and you're describing a group of you who are all female, then you can use nosotras. Nosotras. But nosotros will cover we if it's an all male group or a mixed group of both men and women. You would still use the male version as the default. So you would still use nosotros. But you can use nosotras if you have a group of all women who are being described as the we. Okay. Now, next one we have, this is for you all, but it's a little bit specific. Again, how I've been mentioning some of these things that are regional. This one is the same kind of idea that the way you say you all is not the same everywhere. So this form we have here for you all, which we say vosotros, vosotros, or if it's an all female group, vosotras, vosotras. This is the you all they use in Spain explicitly. So this is a kind of word you won't really hear outside of Spain. Maybe if you're looking at some kind of text that maybe it came from Spain originally or it's from an older version of Spanish, but in general, they do not use vosotros outside of Spain. So vosotros is specific to this you all when you're addressing a group. Like for example, if you're a teacher in front of the class, you would address your class as vosotros, you all. Now for the last one we have in our kind of lines of information here, we have is the they. So they, just like we had with nosotros and vosotros, we have a version that's either for an all male group or a mixed gender group, or we have a version that's for an all female group. So it's the same idea, even if for different words. So for they, for a mixed group or all male group, we would say ellos, ellos. And just like the theme we've been seeing, both with the yo and then the ella, same thing that we can have this pronunciation variety with the double L. So some people might say ellos, some might say ellos, some might say ellos. Okay, so you have some different options. Again, for me, and for simplicity's sake, I'm going to say ellos. Ellos is they for all male group or mixed group. Next we have for an all female group is ellas. Ellas. And the last one we have here, this is the you all that we are going to use in pretty much every country outside of Spain. So when I'm going to address my class or in another kind of situation where you're speaking to a group, that's where they use ustedes. Ustedes. And this one, similar to the singular form we had, which was the you in a polite way, usted, we're going to write the abbreviation in this similar way. So the u is going to be capitalized and it's UDS punto. So UDS period with a capital U, capital U. So this is the you all they will use in all the countries outside of Spain. In Spain, we use vosotros, but in all the other countries outside of Spain, we use ustedes. Okay, so those are our people in Spanish. So we're going to repeat these maybe 2 times actually, just to make sure they're really sinking in. And then we're going to do an exercise together to practice. And then as I mentioned, I'm going to be posting an additional exercise on the website after. So if you want to get even more practice, there's more for you to do there too. So vamos a repetir 2 veces. We're going to repeat 2 times. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras, vosotros, vosotras, ellos, ellas, ustedes. And then we're going to repeat it one more time. I know I always say it in the videos, but even when repetition seems like a kind of mindless exercise, the more you say something and the more you write something, the more likely you are to actually remember it. Even if you don't feel like you're using your brain to do it, it still will help you to internalize the material. So that's why we're always repeating in Spanish, especially when you want to understand memorize a sound. Then especially after repetition is really helpful to make sure you're remembering something and remembering the way it should sound. So una vez más, one more time. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras, vosotros, vosotras, ellos, ellas, ustedes. Muy bien. All right, so let's put our skills to the test and we're going to do a little exercise together. So here we have the words in English, and so we have to put what is the Spanish word that represents this group of people or this one person. So again, please feel free to put your answers in the comments, and we'll see if if the material is really sinking in. So número uno, we have you all. Okay, you all. So this is, I know it's not noted here, but we're going to say this is for the general you all. Okay, so if you remember, we had 2 options for you all. So we can either do ustedes or vosotros. We learned those are 2 options. Vosotros is specific to Spain. Ustedes is for all of the countries outside of Spain. And so when we have just here as you all, we're going to take it as the general you all, which would be ustedes. And as we know, when we write this in the abbreviation, it would be UDS punto with a capital U. Next one, we have you formal. Número 2, you formal, you in a polite way. This one was usted. Usted, otherwise abbreviated as UD punto. So usted was the way we address someone when we want to show them respect. Maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a grandparent or someone who's older than you, and you want to show some kind of respect, or maybe someone you just don't know very well, so you want to address them in a respectful way. Like maybe, for example, if you are traveling and you go to a hotel and you want to make a reservation at the front desk, you would speak to the receptionist with usted. Or you're at a restaurant and you want to order something, maybe you speak to the waiter with usted because it's someone you don't know and you want to show them some respect. So we can use usted. Número 3. So this one we have for I in English, in Spanish is yo. Yo. Nice and easy, nice and simple. Yo. All right, next one we have for she. If you remember, we had a one line and there were 3 different options on that line. One was for he, one was for she, one was for you in a polite way. So the she, the one in the middle, was ella. Ella. And remember, we can pronounce this ella, 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 depending on where you are. Número 5, we, and this is for a masculine, either all male or a mixed group. We would use the same word. Remember, for this one is no, it's one of the longer ones, nosotros, nosotros. So that's for we, masculine, or a mixed group. Next, we need for they, feminine. So this is just now an all female group. So remember, for they, we have 2 options, either ellos or ellas. And so if it's a female group, we should use ellas. Ellas. Muy bien. Okay, we're already more than halfway there. Número 7, he in Spanish. Again, from that same line that had he, she, and you in a polite way. So this one is going to be él. And make sure to put that accent there, because again, él without accent means the. Él with accent means he. Okay, next we have for the you formals. Again, in that case where we're trying to be polite to someone, maybe because they're older than us, they have more power than us, or we're just trying to just be polite to someone we don't know, we can use this you formal, which we had earlier, so we can cheat a little bit and look back at our answer. We saw was usted. Usted. Again, it can be abbreviated with ud punto. Next one we have for the you all, and this one is in Spain, either for the masculine or a mixed group. So this one, remember, it starts with a V. V is the first letter. So we're going to say in Spain, vosotros. Vosotros. This is you all in Spain. Okay, número 10. We is an all-female group this time. So before we had a masculine all-male group or a mixed group, and now we have a female group. So we're going to use nosotras, nosotras, to show that it's female. Next, we have you all, and it says feminine. So this one, we are going to, this kind of feminine thing is just a trick really, because when we have you all, it doesn't, like you all for all the countries outside of Spain, there's no gender we can really see from the word. We have ustedes, ustedes. And this one, whether it's an all male group, an all female group, a mixed group, it doesn't matter. It's always ustedes. As you know, for the one in Spain, that one we can change to be vosotros or vosotras. But this one that is just you all in general outside of Spain is ustedes, and there's no change. So that one we don't have to worry about the gender. And now for our last one, número 12. So this is they for either a masculine or we could say a mixed group because they would use the same thing. So is our last one, número 12. We have here ellos. Ellos, or again, remember we can pronounce it 2 different ways. In addition to ellos, we can say ellos or ellos if we want to have our different pronunciation, depending on what country we want to make our accent sound like. So, muy bien. So just to wrap up our lesson today, we're going to repeat all of the people one more time. Again, hopefully the more times you repeat it, the more you're going to absorb it. And then I'm going to put another exercise up on the website, on our Facebook Live page, on the Rola Languages website, so you can get a little bit more practice with those. But then, other than that, I hope to see you next on Wednesday. So hasta el miércoles at 12 o'clock for our second Community Spanish of the week. Gracias y adiós.